16-year-old Shelley-Anne Bacsu lived with her parents, Muriel and Sandy, and her older brother Tim, in Hinton, Alberta. Shelley-Anne was very petite, standing barely 5 feet tall and weighing less than 100 pounds, but her physical size did not reflect her vibrant personality. She loved children and dreamed of one day becoming a teacher. She loved Christmas and could brighten anyone's day, no matter how difficult of a time they were going through. She was always willing to help others and viewed everyone as equal, not caring about their financial situation or social standing. Shelley-Anne assumed that everyone shared her giving nature and concern for others, and her mother Muriel fears that this trust may have played a role in her sudden disappearance, which occurred on May 3, 1983. That evening, Shelley-Anne had been at her boyfriend's home in what is now known as the Hillcrest Trailer Park, but at the time was called the Sunset Trailer Court. She called home around 8 p.m. to tell her mother that a friend was coming to give her a ride home, and she would be there soon. Shelley-Anne asked her mother if she could make her a specific Hungarian noodle dish that was one of her favorite foods. At 9 p.m., Muriel received another phone call, this time from Shelley-Anne's boyfriend, who asked to speak with Shelley-Anne. Muriel told him to stop joking around, since Shelley-Anne had not yet returned from his home, before realizing that the fact that he was calling assuming her daughter had already returned home meant that Shelley-Anne had left, and that something had gone seriously wrong during her travels. Shelley-Anne's boyfriend did not have any way of driving her home, so a friend was supposed to come over to give her a ride, like Shelley-Anne had said during her earlier phone call. However, that friend was unable to give her the ride as planned, so Shelley-Anne had decided to walk the 4 miles between the trailer park on Highway 16 and her home off of Highway 40. Sandy and Tim got in their car to go out looking for Shelley-Anne, and Muriel set out on foot to search for her daughter. It was dark, and her efforts were hampered by unusually strong winds that whipped through the area that night. Fighting through the wind, Muriel walked along the highway, calling Shelley-Anne's name, hoping her voice would carry over the howling winds. The authorities were called, and an investigation began. A witness came forward reporting a sighting of Shelley-Anne. They had seen her walking west on the north side of Highway 16, going towards her house. The witness said Shelley-Anne did not appear to be trying to hitchhike. Authorities, along with Shelley-Anne's friends, family, and neighbors, spent weeks searching for her. The area off of the highway was dense woodland, making the search difficult. A few days into the search, several items that belonged to Shelley-Anne were discovered off of the highway, near the Athabasca River, approximately 3 miles away from her home. These items included the jacket she had last been seen wearing, a bra, pantyhose, Shelley-Anne's library card, and a library book she had taken out on the day she disappeared. Shelley-Anne herself, however, remained missing. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police interviewed several persons of interest, but no arrests were made in the case. Authorities remained in contact with Shelley-Anne's family for the first decade following her disappearance, but according to her mother Muriel, while the family continued their own efforts to find Shelley-Anne, they did not hear from the RCMP for a period of approximately 15 years, once the 10-year anniversary of Shelley-Anne going missing passed. In 2010, Shelley-Anne's case was reevaluated by authorities to see if it could be connected to the Highway of Tears series of disappearances and murders in neighboring British Columbia. Ultimately, they decided Shelley-Anne's case was unrelated. The RCMP made another public appeal about the case in 2013, on the 30th anniversary of Shelley-Anne's disappearance. That same year, Shelley-Anne's older brother Tim passed away from cancer. Shelley-Anne's case is currently assigned to the Historical Homicide Unit of the RCMP. They have re-interviewed witnesses, investigated new tips, and re-examined evidence using modern forensic techniques. This testing did locate DNA evidence, and the RCMP considers whoever left behind this DNA as a person of interest in the case. However, they have not yet been able to identify the contributor of the DNA. "We never close cases, no matter how old," Sergeant Jason Zazalak of the Historical Homicide Unit said in 2020. "This case is one that really touches the heart. we haven't given up. Given the passage of time and the lack of any sign of Shelley-Anne living elsewhere, both the RCMP and Shelley-Anne's family believe that she most likely is no longer alive. While the RCMP remains focused on the criminal investigation, Shelley-Anne's family just wants to find her. "I'm not looking for justice. I don't think I'll get it," Shelley-Anne's mother Muriel said in 2020. "I just want to find my daughter's remains so I can lay her to rest and give her peace. And for us, there is no such thing as closure, but there is peace. All we want is peace." Stephen Newing was born on April 15, 1958, in the seaside town of Blackpool. He was the oldest of 4 children. Remembering her son in 2013, his mother Jean said, "I think of his cheeky little freckled face and the way he always used to get up to mischief, whether it was falling off his bike, falling out of a tree, or having his teeth knocked out by a football." In 1969, the family was living on Lee Warner Avenue in Fakenham, Norfolk. That September 2nd was during Stephen's school holidays, so the 11-year-old had been playing with a friend. He told his mother he would be having dinner at his friend's house, and Jean told him to be home by 8 p.m. before he left. When 9 p.m. came that evening and Stephen had not yet returned home, Jean called the police. Stephen was seen by his brother and a friend as he left home around 3 p.m., and another friend believed they saw him walking alone along a road later that evening. He had left his bicycle at home that day and had no money with him. Police conducted door-to-door searches and numerous interviews. Stephen's satchel was found near a water tower not far from his home. Reports of sightings of Stephen came in from Norfolk and Suffolk, and a potential sighting of him police described as significant came in from Sutton Bridge in Lincolnshire. There were fears that Stephen may have fallen down a well, but authorities say that possibility has been thoroughly investigated. The Newing family home was searched twice, and authorities are confident that Stephen's family did not play a role in his disappearance. Investigators have considered the possibility that Stephen was abducted, even interviewing a man working at a circus that was in the area at the time of Stephen's disappearance they were concerned may have been involved, but so far they do not have any evidence supporting this, or any theory. Stephen's devastated family found various ways to both live with Stephen's loss and honor his life in the years following his disappearance. While they could not have a funeral in the traditional sense, as they did not have Stephen's body, they held a memorial service for Stephen at Fakenham Parish Church in 2002, during which a memorial was dedicated to Stephen, in hopes that coming together to honor Stephen's life would assist them in their ongoing attempts to cope with his disappearance. Stephen's mother Jean worked with the Benjamin Foundation to open the Stephen Newing House in partnership with Flagship Housing and the North Norfolk District Council. The house provides housing and support to vulnerable 16 to 25-year-olds in order to combat youth homelessness. According to staff, Mrs. Newing seemed to take comfort in visiting the residents of the house, and she bought them Christmas presents every year. While Mrs. Newing found ways to honor Stephen's life, she never gave up on her goal of finding her son. "I still very much want to know what happened to him. At my age, I don't know that I'll ever know the truth, but I feel it's important for me to find out," Mrs. Newing said in 2013. She passed away on September 1st, 2014, the day before the 45th anniversary of Stephen's disappearance. In 2019, investigators highlighted a little-known detail of the case in hopes that it would jog the memory of witnesses who may have seen Stephen the day he disappeared. The day before he vanished, Stephen had found a white mouse in his neighbor's garden and had been showing it to his friends on the day he went missing. People may not remember seeing an 11-year-old 50 years ago, but they might remember an 11-year-old boy with a white mouse, Norfolk and Suffolk cold case manager Andy Guy pointed out. While the detail is small, Mr. Guy felt he needed to release it, while it was possible that potential witnesses were still alive and able to remember 1969. 50 years on is probably the last time we can appeal to people, he said. It's a last roll of the dice from the perspective of people's memories. The more than 50 years that have passed since Stephen went missing have not erased the love his brother and two sisters have for him, or their hope to find their brother. I was the last person to see him, and there is not a day that goes by that I do not think of him and try to work out what happened, Stephen's brother Terry said in 2019. The effects of this have been profound on all our family. Our parents have since died without knowing what happened, and Stephen has an extended family who never met him, only knowing of him from newspaper cuttings and hearsay. However, I still believe that even with the passage of time, the answers we need are still there, and would urge anyone with any knowledge of his disappearance, no matter how trivial or insignificant, to please contact the police so that we can do something our parents were unable to do: lay him to rest and get the closure we need. In 2020, Melinda Lynxleg was a 40-year-old mother of 6 children, ranging in age from 4 to 22. She was from Tutanwasi First Nation in western Manitoba, where the last sighting of her occurred on March 31st, 2020. She was seen walking along a gravel road on the outskirts of the community. Melinda had been visiting friends outside of the community. At the time, the community had a blockade set up due to COVID-19, and residents had to check in and out with security as they came and went. Melinda was last seen walking in the direction of the blockade, but she never reached it, as she was never logged in there. A purse, confirmed to be Melinda's by her oldest daughter, would later be found on the ground near where she was last seen. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police Detachment in Roblin was notified of Melinda's disappearance on April 16th, after her loved ones could not contact her. There has not been any activity on Melinda's bank accounts or social media, or contact with any of her family members. By November of 2020, the RCMP had spoken with more than 50 people and followed up on numerous tips in connection to their investigation into Melinda's case. Potential sightings of Melinda throughout Manitoba had been reported since she vanished. However, subsequent review of surveillance footage has found that the woman witnesses believed to be Melinda was not, in fact, her. While the RCMP has been investigating the case, the physical searching for Melinda has largely been carried out by her large, extended family. Their efforts have been limited by their lack of access to resources like equipment and trained personnel, and eventually, for several months, by severe winter weather. Melinda's family is heartbroken over her disappearance, especially her children. It's painful, Melinda's aunt, Betty Lynxleg, told CBC News in January of 2021. For the whole family and the siblings, you know, I guess when you lose somebody like that and you just don't know what happened, it's not only shocking, but it's just a daily hurt. Melinda's younger children are in the care of their grandparents. Melinda's family is offering a $5,000 reward for information in the case. In 2020, 45-year-old Fauna Frey was temporarily sharing a home with her father John and older brother Dallas. The three of them worked together in the family business, building and selling homes. The family was close not only because they spent so much time working together, but also because they had survived a great deal of tragedy. Fauna's mother and sister had died within 2 years of each other, with her sister passing away in 2006. Fauna would lose her one remaining sibling in 2020. On June 19th, Dallas Frey unexpectedly died of a heart attack at the age of 47. It was Fauna who found his body, after he failed to show up to a home where the family had been working, refinishing its hardwood floors. The death of her brother was a devastating loss for Fauna. On June 27th, she left home in her blue 2000 Jeep Grand Cherokee to drive to Grants Pass, Oregon, to give some of Dallas's possessions to a longtime friend of his. That friend did confirm that Fauna reached his home and had delivered the items. On June 28th, Fauna called her father from the Super 8 motel in Grants Pass. She had rented a room for a night there and called from the room's landline. Fauna had left her cell phone, which she typically did not like to use, and her laptop at home when she left on her trip. According to John, Fauna sounded highly distressed, still struggling with the grief caused by the death of her brother. She told him that she had given a ride to a hitchhiker, which was unusual for her. John told Fauna that she should consider looking for a cabin to rent nearby, because she would be more comfortable there than she would be in a motel. Fauna did then make a reservation at the nearby We Ask You Inn for the following night, and told her father that she would call him the next day after she checked in there. She never did. Fauna had told her father over the phone that she was going to take a shower and then run out to the store. According to the friend of her brother's she had gone to see, there had not been any bags or suitcases in Fauna's car when he happened to glance inside of it while she was at his home. Credit card records show that she made purchases at 2 stores in Grants Pass that night. At Big 5 Sporting Goods, Fauna purchased 3 flashlights, a lantern, a sports bra, capris, and a pair of tennis shoes. She then went to a Fred Meyer grocery store, where she bought shampoo, conditioner, 2 Burt's Bees products, socks, more pieces of activewear clothing, potato chips, a sandwich, and 2 cans of beer. Security footage at the Fred Meyer shows her leaving the store wearing a neon green and purple pullover. Security footage at the Super 8 confirmed that Fauna made it back to her room after she left the store, and shows her leaving the motel the following morning, June 29th, with her belongings. This would be the last confirmed sighting of Fauna. She never checked in for her reservation at the We Ask You Inn. Her credit card was still charged for the stay, as she never called to cancel a reservation. There has been no further activity on her credit card or bank account. When Fauna did not return home or make any further phone calls to him, her father reported her missing. John has been desperate to find his one surviving child and dedicated himself to the search for her, even while he is still in mourning the recent loss of his son. He began driving all over the state, searching for Fauna, and following up on any lead he can get, sleeping in the back of his truck during his travels. "I've searched half the state of Oregon," he told Dateline in early September, more than 2 months after Fauna went missing. "We're at a standstill and don't know where to go from here. We just want her home safe." John has also hired a private investigator to work on the case. There have been several potential sightings of Fauna reported since her disappearance, but none of them have been confirmed or helped bring Fauna home. Other women close in age and appearance to Fauna went missing in the area around the time of her disappearance, which Fauna's father believes may be part of a pattern. These other disappearances also make it difficult to determine which missing woman may have been observed by individuals calling in potential sightings. The hitchhiker Fauna picked up prior to going missing was found and interviewed, but could not provide any information about Fauna's whereabouts. Fauna had previously lived in southern Oregon for many years and was familiar with the area. She regularly hiked and was accustomed to the outdoors. On September 23rd, police found Fauna's Jeep north of Galice, Oregon, on Rubin Mountain Road, a few miles past the Grave Creek boat landing. The vehicle was locked, and authorities believe it had been left where it was found for at least a month. Cadaver dogs were brought in to search the area, but did not find anything. The Oregon State Police processed the vehicle for evidence and found some of Fauna's belongings. They found fingerprints, which were not yet processed as of February of 2021. As there is not yet definitive evidence of a crime being committed, the fingerprints have not been prioritized over other evidence needing to be processed at the lab. On the first anniversary of Fauna's disappearance, a rally was held outside of the Josephine County Courthouse to bring attention both to Fauna's case and to other similar cases in the area. Fauna's family was supported at the rally by others concerned by the large number of women who have gone missing in southern Oregon in recent years, including activists from the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women movement and the families of other missing women, including relatives of 43-year-old Lisa Cronin, who disappeared from Sunny Valley, Oregon in December of 2019. There is currently a $100,000 reward being offered in Fauna's case. Fauna remains missing, and her father remains committed to finding her. 6-year-old Adji Desir lived in Immokalee, Florida, and was a student at Village Oaks Elementary School. He lived with his mother, Marie Neida, and his stepfather, Untitled. Marie came to the United States from Haiti in 2001. She returned to Haiti for a 3-month visit, during which time she conceived Adji, who was born after she came back to Florida. Adji's biological father, Yves Desir, remained in Haiti, and Antal considered Adji to be like his own son. Adji loved spending time at his grandmother's house in the Immokalee farm workers' village and playing with children from the neighborhood. He spent a lot of time there, especially when his parents were at work. His mother worked in nursing at an assisted living facility in North Naples, and his stepfather worked at a local pizza parlor. Adji was at his grandmother's house on Saturday, January 10th, 2009. He spent most of the day coming in and out of the house and ate lunch with his grandmother. When he was outside, his grandmother kept an eye on him through the window as he played. Adji's stepfather came to pick him up around 5 p.m., but could not find Adji amongst the group of neighborhood children playing outside. He asked the other children where Adji was, but none of them knew where he had gone. Adji's grandmother had last seen him from inside the house approximately 15 minutes earlier. Neighbors helped look for Adji in the neighborhood and in nearby woods, but could not find him, so the authorities were called. The search effort for Adji and the investigation into his disappearance was headed by the Collier County Sheriff's Office. Canine units were brought in, and searchers combed the area on foot, on horseback, and on all-terrain vehicles. In addition to the Collier County Sheriff's Office, law enforcement agencies from neighboring counties, as well as the state of Florida and the federal government, also joined in the search for Adji. These agencies included the Lee County Sheriff's Office, the Hendry County Sheriff's Office, the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office, the Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the Hendry Correctional Institution, which provided bloodhounds to the search effort. Adji's neighbors helped look for him as soon as his disappearance was noticed, and volunteers from the larger community quickly volunteered to join in the effort. Within just the first 6 days of the search for Adji, authorities estimated that between law enforcement professionals and volunteers, nearly 1,000 people helped look for him. Despite this massive effort, no sign of Adji was found. Adji's parents described him as a good boy who knew to stay close to his grandmother's house when he was outside. He had never run away or wandered off in the past. Adji was developmentally delayed, and while he was 6 years old, he was estimated to have the mental capacity of a 2-year-old. Adji was largely nonverbal, mainly communicating by shaking his head or nodding. While he would not verbally respond to people who talked to him, he did understand very well when he was spoken to. However, he mainly understood Haitian Creole, and his English vocabulary was more limited. Because of his special needs, there were also concerns that Adji may be alarmed by the noise created by the search parties and hide from them out of fear. His parents believed that he would be able to comprehend that he was lost and needed help, but would most likely be too afraid to approach a stranger to try to get assistance. Over 100 tips were called in within the first week following Adji's disappearance, and authorities cleared more than 80 of them within that same time period. They believed Adji most likely either wandered off or was abducted, but they have no strong evidence supporting either scenario. According to the other children who had been outside at the time, they did not see any suspicious vehicles or individuals. Adji's case received national attention and was featured on America's Most Wanted 3 times in 2009, and he was one of 6 missing children featured on the cover of People magazine that November. Thanks to a partnership between the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, the United States Postal Service, and Velasas, one of the nation's largest marketing companies, Adji's picture and information were included with national direct mailing advertising flyers distributed in November and December of 2009. The flyers reached 75 million homes across the United States. 4 months after Adji's disappearance, his mother gave birth to a daughter, named Adjiani, in honor of her missing brother. Adji's family has said they will never give up on finding him. "We still have never forgotten. Never in my life," his mother said in 2019. Even a decade after he went missing, they still had not been able to give up hope on the possibility of finding him alive, and their hopes were raised when another missing child, Jamie Kloss, was found alive in Wisconsin. "I think he's still alive because I don't want to think something can happen," Untitled said in 2019. "I want to think he's still there."